Hello there and welcome to the last video of the landscape tutorial series. In this video we are going to be adding foliage to the material so that we don't have to manually spread the foliage across the landscape, but it will be tied to this landscape material. Now to do that, first we have to create a landscape foliage or landscape grass foliage type. You can do that by right-clicking, go to the Foliage tab, and adding a landscape grass type. I'm just going to duplicate it because for demonstration purposes I am going to be creating two different types of landscape foliage. Now I will just click the plus icon 3 times and we will be assigning foliage to these array elements. First we need the grass mesh, and I already have a grass mesh from Megascans. I'm just going to import that, set the density to 250, set a call distance from 500 to 5000. I can scale them. It works just the same as foliage. I'm just gonna copy the values to the other ones and just change the mesh and the settings for them. I'm adding a rock and a tree next to the grass. Now that I'm done with that, I will actually create another set of static meshes for the other type of foliage. For just the demonstration purposes, all I'm doing is just setting the red channel or multiplying the red channel so they appear more red. And just do it with the second grass type. Now I will just open up the material editor, and what I'm gonna do is right click and search for landscape grass. And now we have a grass output in the material editor. Now I'm just gonna open up the first element on the side. I'm gonna leave the name as is and select the grass type we just created. This is the landscape grass type that we created. And now we can actually just sample a layer and add it to it. So just sample landscape layer and connect it. Now at the moment this is sample none, so we have to specify the name of our layer, which is grass in this case. But if you named it otherwise in the layer blend, just go with that name. Now save and let's try painting the grass layer. As you know, this is the grass layer, not the outer layer, so we do have to paint that, but we will get to the outer layer at the end of the video. Now it's a bit too dense for my graphics card, so I'm just gonna delete this. And I'm gonna delete that, and I'm gonna add another layer. I will call it dead zone, which is gonna be basically the same as the grass layer, just with the red thingy. And I'm just gonna do the same, multiply the red channel by 2 so that the layer itself will be more red. And I'm gonna create a new grass output and name it red, and assign grass type 2 for it, which is, if you remember, the red grass I just created, or the red foliage items I created. And I'm just gonna create another sample layer node, and one is gonna be the dead zone, the other one is gonna be grass. And if I save that, I can go back to the landscape, add layer info, and I can paint the dead zone, which I just created in the material editor. And as you can see, it does add the right foliage to the right layer. and I can paint them side by side. And if I have a bit bigger fall off, they blend nicely together. Now I'm gonna position it to another place, and we are gonna do the auto part of it so that it spawns on the auto layer. And to do that, we are just gonna connect the alpha, which is actually not right. You should use the output of the lerp node just above it. I will correct it soon. So we are gonna subtract from the alpha the blend node, and we are gonna subtract everything else. So we are gonna subtract the rocks and the grass layer and the dead zone layer and so on. And by subtracting everything from the output of the lerp, we are basically taking away the foliage from those layers which we are subtracting, so that in the auto part, we will have the foliage just on the grass type and not on the slope, which you will soon see. But not that soon, because at this point I didn't yet notice that I screwed up the connection at the subtract. And because of that, now the foliage is spawning on the rock layer, the ground layer. And here is a little thinking part of what did I do wrong, but just as I said, you have to connect the output of the lerp, not the alpha from the word align blend. And I did notice my mistake. Save. Let's wait for it to compile. And now we have our foliage at the right place, but it's not very dense at the moment. And the reason the trees look ugly is because they aren't really for foliage, they are for props and not really for this type of landscape. And in the previous video, the way I made them look better is just making them go deeper into the ground, which for some reason I couldn't do here, because the settings here are not exactly the same as in the foliage editor. But now, as you can see, I am messing around with the density so that the landscape appear a bit more natural. And now we have a good amount of foliage here. And the good thing about this auto foliage is if I paint over with another layer that is subtracted from it, I can make the foliage disappear, because the foliage is tied to the layer, not to the surface of the landscape. So this is how you control what foliage spawns on what layer, because on the auto layer now spawns the green foliage, and on the dead zone it spawns the red foliage, and nothing spawns on the path. So if I run up to that area which I just painted, you will see that the path has no foliage on it. The dead zone has the red or brown foliage, and the green parts have the green foliage. Now in the next video series which I'm gonna be making, because we have finished with the basics of creating a landscape, the next one is gonna be what you see on the screen. We are gonna create a landscape material which has multiple biomes that you can paint on. All of them are gonna be automatic. The foliage is gonna be automatic, and it's gonna look really cool, I hope. I don't know when will the tutorial come out, because there are a few stuff I have to fix, but hopefully it will come soon enough. So thank you for watching, and see you in there.